नमस्कार, रसोई के रहस्य के इस नए एपिसोड में आप सबका स्वागत है। हम संक्रांत को पीछे छोड़ा है और बसंत के आगमन की इंतजार कर रहे हैं।
रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम, रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले।
This episode is dedicated to the beautiful oncoming of spring and the festival of Basant Panchami, which is also celebrated as Saraswati Puja in some communities. My guest today is somebody who has experienced Basant Panchami and Saraswati Puja almost as closely as any Bengali has. Because to me, when you talk of Basant Panchami, the immediate image is of beautiful spring, everything bright and pretty, yellow, blooming flowers, and slowly the movement towards summer. But the beauty cannot be denied. And having grown up around many Bengali families and their love for celebration, there cannot be any other way or any other person to speak with about Basant Panchami or Saraswati Puja, but someone who has been in Bengal and experienced it there. So without much ado, let me welcome my guest that I'm very excited to have with us, Arathi Ramani Sen. She is a Tamilian, born and brought up, but in Calcutta, and has some wonderful anecdotes to share with us about Basant Panchami growing up. And she's many things and has many facets and layers to her life and herself. I'm going to say nothing about it, but welcome Arathi to Rasoi Ke Rahasya. Hi Arathi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Payal, and thank you for such a gracious welcome. I'm humbled by all that you've said about me, and the feelings are mutual. So
tell us, who is Arathi?
So Arathi is a bundle of energy who is excited by every small thing in life, be it just going to the market or playing with kids or cooking or dancing. It is just a celebration. Arathi is a celebration of life.
Wonderful. What else do you do? I know there are many facets to your life and your cooking and how you want to encourage cooking as a tradition, as an emotion and as a passion. Please tell us about that.
Yeah. So having grown up with a family of good cooks, I have always been exposed to the love of cooking. Mm-hmm. Food was never just something we just ate just like that. Mm-hmm. There was always a story behind recipe. There was always story behind something being made, some connection to someone in the family. Mm-hmm. So it was always a lot more than just a recipe and ingredients and the eventual food that is made. So my dream in life is to partake that same thought and share it with more so our youngsters so that they develop a beautiful relationship with food and our culture and understand what our ancestors ate and how scientific the whole approach was to food.
Right.
So here, let me just tell you that I've also started my own food business, which is called Freshly Ground Kitchen.
Nice.
And why I bring it up is that it's called Freshly Ground Kitchen because the way we treat our ingredients is in the traditional manner. We don't use a mixie or any of the more convenient apparatus that we have nowadays. We use still the shilbata, the one with which we grind.
Yes.
Cook on open flames. We cook for long hours, and the aroma, the flavors are meant to transport you to your grandmother's house or take you back to a time in your childhood which reminds you of something, and that's the comfort you get from that food.
Absolutely. So this is a commercial venture, and here I must also point out, I remember you mentioning that your 14-year-old son is also a fabulous budding chef, and his love for food, I think, has somehow been passed on from you, I think even before he was born.
Yes, very true. I mean, he is so passionate about whatever he makes, and it's such a joy to see that in a child. And he uses cooking and food, not eating, of course eating also, but as a de-stressor. And that is just so amazing. Between studying, if you can go into the kitchen and make something and also make it for the whole family, that is very important. It's not like apne liye ek sandwich bana lo aur apna kha lo.
Correct.
But you're making something which all of us can eventually sit at the dining table and share.
Totally amazing. I mean, what a rare talent, but such an amazing talent is really, really wonderful. So it's really nice to know so much about what you do. And I think critical aspect of this positive relationship with food and hence with one's own self, I think. Itna bhi bolo, पापी पेट का सवाल है, लोग बोलते हैं, पेट पूजा बोलते हैं. There has to be something behind all this celebration of the stomach.
Yes, I think food just nourishes you. It nourishes your mind, your soul. It is so meditative. Like you were sharing with me that you loved cutting vegetables and that was your go-to place to find calm and peace. Absolutely. And that is what food is all about. Sometimes when I go to the market, and since I've been brought up in Bengal and married to a Bengali, and I see the fishmongers, I'll just walk past and I'll see all the beautiful fish that is available in Bombay, the sea fish and the river fish, and I come back like this excited bunny. It's like, ye, mujhe aaj ye banana hai, wo banana hai. It is so
sir mein already cooking shuru ho jata hai.
Exactly. The minute you see the ingredient, you won't believe I have learned recipes sitting at the fishmonger's place, because there's some auntie who would come and say, do you know how we made this traditionally? And I would like, tell me, and then I would buy that and come home and do it.
So having grown up in Bengal, married to a Bengali, this whole beautiful festival of Basant Panchami, which incidentally also happens to be, I know, एक मुहूर्त where everybody is getting married. There is like, उसके बारे में तो किसी को पूछना भी नहीं होता, उस दिन सब शादियां हो जाती हैं automatically. And also this beautiful, tradition of Saraswati Puja, which is probably the only day in the year that she's celebrated specifically. Please share with us your experiences with this fabulous festival.
So my relationship with Saraswati Puja obviously changed over the years. As a young child, it was the excitement of not having to study, because all your textbooks, pens, notebooks, everything was kept in front of Ma Saraswati. So we were like eager from the previous day कि books कब रखेंगे हम, books कब रखेंगे, ताकि सारा दिन हमें पढ़ने ना पड़े. मम्मी तो बोलेगी नहीं, अगले दिन को निकलेगा books. So that was when you were much younger. Then by the time we came to our teenage, it was like Valentine's Day. Because that was the day you actually got to wear a sari from your mother's wardrobe if she had one in yellow. Or if you got gifted a new yellow sari. And from the tiniest of kids, 1.5, 2-year-olds, to the mothers and to others, everyone wore a beautiful yellow crisp cotton sari, dressed up with their vermilion tilaks and their bangles, the pola and the traditional marriage wale bangles jo hote hain, white and red wale. It was the most beautiful thing to see. Yellow is basically your color of Basant, right?
Correct. Yes.
So everything, including the flowers that we put for Ma, were marigold. One of the flowers, in fact, that is mandatory is the palash flower. It's called flame of the forest. UP में भी होता है.
Another beautiful flower. That's another very, very pretty flower.
Yes. So that was one of the flowers that was there. The goddess normally would be cleaned and adorned with sandalwood ke tika and garlands, and a white cloth would cover her, because puja ka din hi kholenge na muh.
Correct.
And it was also, there was a competitive streak as far as the Alpana was concerned. Across all cultures in India, we have the Rangoli and Alpana and the Kolam in the south.
Correct.
So here, with the rice flour paste, women would do these beautiful designs, paisley shapes, different floral shapes. And the beauty was everyone is so talented.
Right.
And everyone had a platform to showcase their talent.
Yes, yes.
No one went to classes.
Correct.
So that was amazing. And in front of the goddess, there would be kept a kalash, which is filled with water, and it would be covered with mango leaves.
Right.
The tradition was to have 5 leaves in a bunch.
Right.
And there, like you have the towel, the traditional Bengali towel is red and white checkered.
Right.
And it's called the gamcha.
Correct.
So the gamcha would be used to cover the pot, and a small garland would be placed on it. So apart from school children keeping their books, Saraswati Ma was also the goddess of music, of any creative skill that anyone possessed. So you had artisans, you had musicians, you had everyone keeping their tools in front of the mother.
Correct. And then also I know that there's also the tradition of, for children for the first time to sort of do an aksharabhyas, as they call it.
Yes. So that's called hatakori.
Okay.
Hatakori means what I do with my hand. So children would, for the first time on rice, you would take their finger and make them draw out alphabet shape, and that would be the introduction to writing.
Right. So it's symbolic to having taken Ma Saraswati's blessings to sort of begin their journey into the world of education.
Into education and into learning and into that phase of life.
Wonderful. So this is as far as the tradition for the puja goes, or is there more to this?
So there is, like I'd like to mention out here, there's something called a panchamrit which is made. That is made with raw milk, curd, honey, ghee, and tulsi patta.
Right. Yes.
And apart from that, the main offering to the goddess was something called dodhi karma.
Okay.
So dodhi karma was offered to the goddess the following morning after completion of the Panchami tithi. See, Saraswati Puja is basically celebrated on the 5th day of the month of Magh.
Right.
So that's the 5th day of the waxing moon. So on the 6th day, they would do dodhi karma, which was, Calcutta is very famous for its mishti doi, right?
Right.
And they would serve a lot of mishti to the goddess as prasad on the day of the puja. And even people who came to visit would bring mishti and flowers with them.
Right.
So how much would you eat? So they would mash a lot of that sandesh and that mishti into the sweet curd along with popped rice, which is called khoi in Bengali, and ripe bananas.
Okay.
And that would be offered as the prasad for the next day.
Wonderful. So it's a 2-day festival, and it's, is this something that is usually celebrated in individual homes, or in places is this also community?
It is not as much community as far as I remember, or maybe in our area it wasn't as much. It's more in individual homes because it is all about studies and skill, right? So each home, and there is no visarjan. See, what happens in a community is you build a pandal, then you bring a goddess in or a god, and then there's a visarjan which happens.
Correct.
So
yes.
Here in Saraswati Puja, there is no visarjan which will happen.
Okay.
You don't want to drain away your knowledge at any point of time.
Hopefully not.
Keep her close to you forever.
So I think everybody here is, लालची के ये मेरे घर में रहेंगी और ये मेरे घर के मतलब जो भी घर में creativity होगी, it's going to be taken care of by my own house.
उसको community में रख लो, फिर community में कौन होशियार बन जाए और कौन बुद्धू बन जाए, वो झगड़ा लग जाएगा.
Pujan, where everybody sits and, is there certain things that happen? I'm just curious.
So the festivity is amazing. From the previous night of the puja, as far as the alpana is concerned, as far as cutting of the fruits are concerned, which are offered to the deity, as far as cutting of the vegetables for the prasad for the next day is concerned, it's all a family event. And it's not women-centric. You will find children, men, women, everyone sitting around and laughing and chatting and sharing stories, pulling each other's legs, cutting, even neighbors at times.
Right.
And that is the beauty of a lot of traditions in our culture. It's very inclusive.
Yes, it is. And the fun is in the whole family.
If I didn't celebrate Saraswati Puja in the same manner in my parents' house, I had enough houses to go to where I would become a part of their celebration.
Yes, absolutely. That is something which I see very much in our culture. You don't have to be celebrating a particular festival at home to be included in someone else's house that is celebrating a festival. That is absolutely true. And I remember you mentioning that there is a set number of fruits that people offer generally. Yes, certain number of fruits that are given.
So usually it's an odd number, depending on people's financial capacity, depending on the number of members in the family, depending on how many people you're expecting to come. It's always 3, 5, 7, and depending on availability of fruits also, types of fruits.
Right.
So normally 3 and 5 were more common. And they would all be the fresh seasonal fruits of that time.
Right.
Like we have something called a water apple, a mishri kand we call it. So bananas, apple, things like that.
So whatever is
Apart
fresh.
from that, especially coming from Punjab, do you know that we also offer revdi on the day of Saraswati Puja?
Oh, you do, is it?
Yeah, it's called tilkut in Bengal.
Ah, okay. All right.
So it's made out of white til.
Yes.
And it's called tilkut, and it's again, I think, the same concept of til is a heating element, right? And with winter being there, that's extremely good for the system.
And the jaggery that it's made.
And the jaggery, and then there would be dates, there would be honey.
Correct. This is so, I actually have an image of you. You've created one very pretty picture in my mind about this entire celebration with color and things like that. Now, central part of all our celebrations, like we know, is food. What is the food that is part of the celebration that is very, very necessary?
Of course. I mean, even as you walk in to see the deity, the whiff, the smells that approach from the kitchen are what catch your senses a lot more. It's like जल्दी से भगवान को बोलो मुझे अच्छे नंबर दे दो, अभी किचन में क्या बना है?
हाँ, तो भाई अंदर घुस के सबसे पहले चीज हाय हेलो करने के बाद में सीधा जाके go and peep into the kitchen and see कि क्या पका.
हाँ, correct. So normally there's something called a mishti bhat, which is sweet rice, which is made, and they would put saffron and haldi in the rice along with raisins and cashews and sugar. That's a sweet rice which is made. With that, Bengal is famous for its bhajas. That is basically, they don't adulterate the taste of the original vegetable. And Calcutta is very well known for its quality of vegetables.
Right.
Even baingan bolo, aloo bolo, जो sweetness वहाँ की vegetables में होती है, at least Bombay में तो है नहीं.
नहीं, हैदराबाद में भी नहीं मिलती. हम लोग भी जाते हैं. We also go to the north. When we travel north, and we always say यहाँ की सब्जी का taste ही अलग है. It's the pani, it's the soil, it's all of that.
Exactly. So sabzis like parwal, bangan, aloo, they'll just be put थोड़ा सा हल्दी नमक डाल के, they just fry them.
Right.
And there will be a khichdi which is made. I think the tradition of khichdi is because one is it's light on the stomach, then quantity भी आप इतना बना सकते हो ना, when you have so many people coming over and so many mouths to feed.
Correct.
तो खिचड़ी बनती है. There's a mixed vegetable because it is the end of winter season and the kinds of vegetables are bountiful.
Right.
There's a mixed vegetable called labra which is made.
Okay.
I'll get into the recipe of that by the end of it. I'll first speak about one of the traditional dishes which is made, and this dish is mainly made for day 2. Like day 1, all our puja is done. Now we entered day 2. But the preparation for day 2 already starts on day 1. Because day 2 is a fabulous day for the women. They are not going to cook.
Wonderful.
Yes, there is no fire that is going to burn.
Right.
We are going to have a good time from yesterday's leftovers. So, a very interesting fact about this not having hot food being made, it's called Arundhan.
Okay.
So it is basically the prohibition of cooking on festivals. And it is to give the women a break. It happens during Durga Puja also, it happens during Vishwakarma Puja also. And the interesting fact is that this originated during the time of the British. That is during the time of the freedom struggle. There was this Bengal poet, he was called Ramendra Sundar Tribedi.
Right.
He basically protested against the partition of Bengal into East Bengal and West Bengal. He said, no one is going to cook, no one is going to light a fire. It was similar to what Tagore had done when he called all Hindus and Muslims to celebrate Raksha Bandhan to kind of show a show of unity, right?
Right.
So he said, अभी East Bengal में भी कोई खाना नहीं बनाएगा, West Bengal में भी कोई खाना नहीं बनाएगा, but इंसान को तो खाना ही पड़ेगा ना.
बिल्कुल. बिल्कुल.
तो पहले दिन का जो भी है वो खा लेंगे. So
right.
that was a very beautiful thing. So on that day, even the Shilbata got a rest. So they would actually do puja to the Shilbata on that day.
Wow, lovely.
So the previous day, what they would make is called Gota Sheddhu.
Right.
Gota is whole. Anything which is whole.
Right.
And Sheddhu is boiled.
Okay.
So they would take 5 or 7 vegetables, like some of the vegetables being things like baby potatoes, sweet potato, but शकरकंद वो लंबे लंबे वाले नहीं, एकदम छोटे वाले जो single pieces नहीं होते.
Right, right.
Then छोटे वाले बैंगन, peas along with the skin. Peas को नहीं निकालते, छिलका नहीं निकालते. Along with the skin, then beans, spinach, and green moong dal. In West Bengal, the Saraswati Puja is considered vegetarian.
Right.
Whereas in East Bengal, it's considered non-vegetarian.
Oh, wonderful.
So East Bengal mein, they would also make the hilsa fish. But West Bengal mein, they will keep it purely vegetarian and therefore they will not use haldi ginger, garlic, any of the roots.
Okay,
And
right.
if you went back into Ayurveda, all
Right.
the roots are basically tamasic.
Tamasic, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So they would use rajasic things, which rejuvenates your body. It gives you energy. So this dish, gota shaddo, is extremely simple. They would, in a big pan, like a thick pan or an earthen pan, they would put in the moong dal, green moong dal, whole wala, and bring it to a nice boil till it's almost soft. Then they would add all the vegetables. And it was very funny because a lot of houses, they would decide on the quantity of the vegetables depending on the number of people. So अगर 8 जन हैं, 8 into 2, 16. So 16 आलू पड़ेंगे, 16 बैंगन पड़ेंगे.
I remember that as well, I remember that as well because I remember my grandmom when she used to cook paneer. जब पनीर काटती थी सब्जी के लिए, मटर पनीर or anything, my mother still tells me about it. She would always count the number of people that were going to eat the paneer. And put those many pieces. मतलब एक के नाम के 3 या 4, whatever. So, makes sense.
They didn't believe in carrying forward or wasting as much, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
अभी fresh बनाओ, खा लो.
बिल्कुल. Yeah, okay.
So that is how they would make the quantity, and they would put the vegetables in one by one and just put that entire pot to boil. That's it. वो अपना पकता रहे till everything is soft. Finally, mustard oil में they'll give a small tadka of jeera, of hari mirchi, and namak.
Wow, just that.
And that's it. And this is eaten with something called panta bhat. So normally rice would be left over, and they would put water into the rice and let it ferment overnight.
Right.
And that is called panta bhat, and this would be eaten with that panta bhat.
Amazing.
This is because the second day is something called Shitol Shashti.
Okay.
So here, I don't know about other cultures, but Shitala Ma is considered to give coolness and relief from things like fever, smallpox, measles,
yes. It's
pox.
there in other cultures as well. I know that many people observe this Shitla Matla ka Basi Khana.
Basically, so mothers worshipped Ma Shashti because she was supposed to be the mother who took care of children and their well-being and their happiness and their future. And this food was considered what is Sheetal giving.
Right, Thandak. Correct. Absolutely. So wonderful.
Because that was also a season which kind of lent itself to a lot of illness.
Yes.
And the immune system would be weaker.
Correct. It's the transitory phase of the weather at that point.
Yeah. So this food, like today, we talk so much about gut health and fermented foods, and kombucha and all of that. If you actually went back, our ancestors followed everything.
Absolutely. And so organically. I mean, there was nothing, no shusha, no fuss, no muss. Jo hai, usko lo, usko adapt karo aur chalte bano.
Exactly. I think they just went with the season and the harvest and what felt right for the body in that season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's coming back. People like you, people like us who are talking about it, I'm sure are going to impact people to wanting to do.
Yes, and I think that is what you're doing also is so amazing for our children, because for them to know this and the culture of our food is very important. And I don't restrict it only to India, to wherever. You need to know the original cultures.
Totally. I so
because that's so rich.
It is, and there's so much. It goes so deep into, psyche, into history, into geography, into the science of everything. There's so much richness to the entire thing. When do they make the chutney? I remember you were mentioning a particular chutney as well. Is that also part of it?
Yes. So in the month of December, there is a harvest of the traditional berry which is found, the tropical berry which is found in Kolkata side, West Bengal side. It's called kool. Okay. It's also called Indian jujube. Round होता है, उसमें बीच में एक seed होती है. It's round. It's like not red, but it's like a muddy red.
Okay, it's not bear. Is it bear?
It is not bear.
Okay, it's sort of like that.
It's called the Indian jujube.
Okay, all right.
So the kool ka chutney is made as one of the side dishes during this puja.
I
And there's
see.
a very funny story to it because though December they would harvest kool and there would be a lot of kool available in the market, the kids would not eat it because they believed अगर सरस्वती की पूजा के पहले तुमने कोol खाया तुम एग्जाम में फेल हो जाओगे. तो सरस्वती की पूजा के दिन चटनी खाने के बाद ही तुम कोol खा सकते हो.
Okay. बेचारे बच्चे.
But it's so beautiful, the innocence and the belief that we had, right?
Seriously,
There was
absolutely.
no Google to Google all of this, and it was so nice, that innocence that went with it.
And I don't think anybody even questioned it because getting marks was very important. December में exams होते हैं, उसमें marks लाने तो बहुत जरूरी है.
एकदम.
So ये तो
In fact,
ये हो गया खाना.
my son is waiting for tomorrow's puja because his exams are starting on Monday. He's like, any extra mark that Saraswati Ma can give me, I will be happy with.
देखो, seriously, I can imagine. Very nice. I mean, and we're talking about it I think in context so close to time. So it's absolutely. हम लोग अभी खाने की रेसिपी करेंगे.
एकदम.
Have you observed everything that we needed to?
Yes, we have. So that's
अभी
what
लाबरा
we
खाएंगे.
did.
अभी हम लाबरा खाएंगे.
Ekdam, and hopefully all our listeners will also be excited with the labra and make it because it's so delicious, I can't tell you.
Wonderful. I'm right here. Please go ahead and let us know what we need to do to make labra.
Okay, so like a lot of the traditional recipes, the number of ingredients are many.
Right.
So let's not get intimidated with how many things there are. Believe me, once you have everything together, it cooks in a jiffy.
Right. Okay.
So the vegetables that we'll put in the labra are potato, sweet potato,
Right.
brinjal, the bharte wala, baingan jo bada wala
Oh,
hota hai.
बड़ा वाला. Okay.
हाँ.
Hmm.
Then kacha kela,
Right.
then banana ka stem. Because in Bengal, every part of the banana is eaten.
Yes, it is. It is.
The flower, the stem.
Mm.
So the banana ka stem, cauliflower,
Mm.
cabbage. There are flat beans which we call sheem in Bengal.
Yes, same ki phali. Okay.
Then you have long beans. I think they call them barbatti also.
Round bean, not the French bean. This is the long
No,
one.
not the वो लंबे वाले झाड़ू के जैसे दिखते हैं, थोड़े लंबे होते हैं. They are usually tied in a गुच्छा.
In a gucha, that is, I think lobia phali hoti hai. That's what the lobia comes out of. It's a patla long bean.
हाँ, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Then the ripe pumpkin, which is orange kaddu.
Right. Okay.
So these are the vegetables which go in.
Right. Okay.
Apart from this, the masalas which will go in are your dried red chilies,
Right.
bay leaf,
Right.
green chili, both paste and sabut green chili, ginger paste. So a lot of Bengali cooking gets its flavor from ginger.
Yes. Ginger and mirchi, hari mirchi.
Then grated coconut.
Lovely.
The dried masalas that we will put are the traditional ones like turmeric, salt, sugar, and ghee.
Okay.
Apart from these, there are two masalas which are typical to Bengal. One is called the Panch Phoron
Right.
and one is called the Bhaja Masala. So the Panch Phoron is an amalgamation of 5 different masalas. Usually you get them nowadays very easily in any kirane ka dukaan.
Yes.
आप 5 फोड़न पूछ लो तो वो दे देते हैं. But in case someone is not able to get, it's not such a rocket science. It's basically आपका सौंफ, मेथी दाना, काला जीरा, सरसों, and there's a typical Bengali spice called radhuni, which looks like ajwain but does not taste like
Right, it
ajwain.
is,
It has a
it
very
is.
different flavor.
Yes. Yes.
radhuni जहाँ ना मिले आप जीरा भी डाल सकते हो.
जीरा भी डालते, but कलौंजी नहीं डलती इसमें.
नहीं, वो नहीं डलती. So what we normally do, if sometimes we don't get this, we just put एक tablespoon in one छोटी सी शीशी and we keep it like that. So that becomes your Panch Phoron.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
Yes.
even in your chutney, Panch Phoron is used as your main spice.
I know it has such a wonderful flavor. उसके सब कुछ मिला के the flavor, it just enhances the flavor of a tadka.
Exactly. And the Bhaja Masala is basically cumin seeds, fennel seeds, and coriander.
Okay, just that.
Yeah, so you just fry all of this on a dried kadai with 2 pieces of cardamom, and then you grind it.
Coarse ground या इसको मतलब proper powder करके?
No, fine ground. So,
Fine.
like if anyone has access to a rolling pin, I would really request them to once grind in a mixie, one small batch, and once grind with a rolling pin. the flavors are completely different.
Yes, हम लोग करते हैं. We do, especially jeera. When you bhuno jeera and things for your आम का पन्ना and your raitas and things like that, उसको थोड़ा सा भून के उसको rolling pin के साथ चकले पे करो, that aroma is all over the house.
Exactly.
Oh yes, I can imagine. That's fabulous.
So these are our ingredients, though they are slightly many, but these are our ingredients. So now we cut all the vegetables to a uniform size. And depending on the size of the family, as it is, because there are so many different types of vegetables, आप थोड़ा-थोड़ा भी ले लो, quantity बड़ी हो जाती है.
काफी हो जाती है. तो लंबे करते हैं या छोटे करते हैं? Cubes करते हैं या लंबे करते हैं?
Cubes करते हैं, not very छोटा. Medium sized के cubes करते हैं.
Right.
Because they will cook, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want them mashed. You want each of them to remain in their
stand out. Yeah.
So then the flat beans and the long beans, they are put into boiling water and removed. हल्का सा parboil हो जाता है, then we remove them, because if you fry them in oil, they get very dry and सूखा.
Correct. That we do.
So they are removed. Then in a large kadai, mustard oil is added. If someone doesn't like mustard oil, I've made this for my lot of friends with normal oil. जो भी आप घर में इस्तेमाल करते हो, उसमें भी स्वाद बड़ी अच्छी आती है. So you take mustard oil and mustard oil में क्या होता है कि you have to heat the oil quite a bit.
Smoke करते हैं उसको.
Smoke करते हैं. जब तक वो थोड़ा सा हल्का ना हो जाता है ना, smell आने निकल जाती तब तक. So now in that oil you will fry the baingan and the banana, the raw banana. These two are fried and taken out.
Right.
Because when you fry them, the flavor locks in quite well.
Absolutely.
उसके बाद हम छौंक शुरू करते हैं, where you put in the red chilies, the 5 फोड़न. Now it's all done in a low flame because 5 फोड़न में मेथी होती है जो बहुत जल्दी जल जाती है.
और कड़वा, फिर वो पूरा कड़वा,
बहुत कड़वा हो जाता है. Then the whole सब कुछ कड़वा हो जाता है.
Correct.
So you just take and fry it very हल्का सा. Then the ginger paste is added along with the chili paste and that is fried. After this, the sabzis are added in a particular order. The potato and the banana stem is added along with the sweet potato.
Right.
उसके बाद you add the pumpkin. Then you add the cauliflower and cabbage. Oh, I forgot to mention cabbage is one of the vegetables also.
Yes, you mentioned cabbage. बताया था आपने उसमें.
हाँ, तो cabbage also you add. Then you add the parboiled beans,
Right.
the grated coconut, and you mix everything. Gently you mix. The beauty of our spices like turmeric, salt, sugar, they give you different nuances when you add them at different times. Like आप अगर तेल में डाल दोगे, उसका essence बहुत अलग हो जाता है.
Correct.
Then a lot of times आप पानी में mix करके भी डाल सकते हो, वो अलग होता है. So यहाँ पे with all these sabzis we put turmeric, salt and sugar.
अच्छा, सब्जियां डालने के बाद में, मतलब उसके बाद
सब्जियां को थोड़ा भूनने के बाद हम उसके ऊपर टर्मरिक, सॉल्ट एंड शुगर डाल देते हैं. उसके बाद दो ग्रीन चिलीज को स्लिट करके उनको डालते हैं. एंड लास्ट में जो बैंगन और बनाना हमने फ्राई करके रखा है वो डाल देते हैं. इसके बाद यू ढको and you let it cook till all the vegetables become soft.
And सबका अपना अपना पानी छूटेगा.
हाँ, अपना अपना पानी छूटेगा and उसके बाद नरम हो जाते हैं. It's a nice texture to eat, लेकिन mash नहीं हो जाते. They keep their shape.
The cooking has to be done accordingly.
हाँ, then you turn off the heat and you add the ghee and you remember the Bhaja Masala I told you, the one with the cardamom and all.
Yes.
You add that from the top. Give one अच्छा सा mix and then you ढक दो. अभी कोई फायर नहीं है, आप just ढक दो और आधा घंटा छोड़ दो. It just absorbs the entire ghee and the masala का flavor.
Lovely. Sounds so interesting.
And that is the labra. And I honestly hope I will hear very soon from you, Payal, that you've made the labra and it is yum.
I will, because there are a lot of vegetables in this that nobody eats in my house. But a small batch तो बनता ही है. I don't even know whether we get banana stem here. कच्चा केला तो मिल जाएगा, banana stem मिलेगा नहीं पता मेरे को. वो I'll have to ask.
But then also what you can do is you can omit some of the vegetables जो available नहीं है. फर्क नहीं पड़ता उतना सारा. This is the traditional way it is made. But अगर हमें banana stem नहीं मिल रहा है या कोई brinjal से they are allergic, बाकी चीजों से बना ले सकते हैं, because it's about the flavor and the
it's about the
taste
flavor
and
and
the
it's
way
about
it
the
is made.
masalas. It's about the masalas and the paste जो पूरा वो flavors डल रहा है, तो उसमें थोड़ा vegetables इधर उधर भी, in fact थोड़ी सी सब्जियां लेकर भी कर सकते हैं. I think I must try this out. It sounds very exciting, and I hope you're going to give us a written copy of the recipe, so I can share it maybe in the description box.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be really wonderful, because इतना सब कुछ याद करना, मतलब मुझे तो वापस
बहुत ही
सरस्वती माँ को याद करना पड़ेगा. मेमोरी दे दो माँ.
Correct.
so इसलिए आप दे दो और हम उसमें डाल के रख देंगे.
Exactly.
So this is,
and also it will be wonderful if your listeners also write back in or tell us what versions they have made of the labra.
Absolutely, it would be really wonderful. I think I hope people respond. But in any case, social media पे जाने के बाद में, I'm sure you will have people also who will have memories of these. So it would be.
Yes.
I think there's nothing nicer than collating these memories from people of everything. तो ये लाबरा को वो आपने मुझे बताया था किसके साथ खाते हैं? Is this the खिचड़ी के साथ?
खिचड़ी के साथ खाते हैं.
वही खिचड़ी के साथ ना? And the खिचड़ी, I'm curious, is this the मूंग मसूर वाला खिचड़ी या किस तरह का खिचड़ी बनता है?
This is the plain, the bhaja moong dal, like we roast the moong dal halke se, and then make the khichdi with that.
That's it, na? मतलब not the moong masoor. I see people putting masoor dal also. Moong और masoor दोनों को roast करके भी बनाते हैं.
Just moong dal की खिचड़ी. And I don't know why. Like even if I make the khicdi 10 times, the day I'll make it on Saraswati Puja day, the flavor itself is different. There's something to do with the faith and intention with which you make it, and the Ma's blessings, that the entire taste is very different.
But that's true of any prasad. I say this, I mean, you say this, you've actually taken the words out of my mouth, because when we do Navratri, and we do the last day, the Navami ka kanjak we do, when we make the, the shira and the chana and the puri and the something as simple as the bundi raita. उस दिन आप जो वो चीजें खाओगे, और हम लोग हर थोड़े दिन में बूंदी रायता बनाते हैं खाने में, वो there is absolutely no comparison to the flavor.
Exactly.
So I think it's the grace, it's the energy of the tea, and it's totally so heartwarming and so beautifully blessed. Wonderful. So please, Ma Saraswati, from all of us, all of our listeners, I think I would probably be invoking her blessings for all of us. And Sheetla Ma also, we are going through some very rough times. So hopefully sabki, the health and sab kuch theek thak rahe. And
especially our children.
Absolutely. And, given us such beautiful insights into all of this, Aarti, I hadn't clue that there is so much that goes into Saraswati Puja and Basant Panchami. So I'm going
I have to thank you, because you took me back to my childhood, and it's been such a pleasure sharing it with everyone. And if I could just get everyone to come to my house and share the bhog with me,
I would so love it. I think ये भी एक pending रहा कि sometimes repeats of the menus of particular festivals, that अगर festival पे ना हो तो कम से कम किसी ना किसी वक्त तो होना मांगता है.
Exactly.
So I think पूजा यहाँ पर हम खत्म करते हैं, और हम hope करेंगे कि we'll have this labra made one of these days soon, and all our listeners will be making this as well. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you,
and being here, Aarti.
And wishing everyone a very happy and a very safe time ahead.
Thank you so much, and it was wonderful speaking with you.
Same here. Thank you.
रसोई के रहस्य का ये बहुत ही खूबसूरत रंगीला बसंत पंचमी का एपिसोड बस यहाँ तक ही. आपने बहुत सारी नई इंफॉर्मेशन यहाँ से पाई है, मैंने भी पाई है, और हमको पता चला है कि हमारे देश की विविधता कितनी है. There are festivals and there are festivals, there are things we observe, there are little things we do, and so many joys derived out of small things in life. तो अगले एपिसोड तक आपसे विदा लेते हुए नमस्कार.